In closing, I want to tell you a quick story that's true. During the World War, some decades ago, there was an evil ruler by the name of Pol Pot in Cambodia. And he was killing everyone who was educated, everyone who could read, everyone who had any religious background. He began to exterminate because he was a communist and he wanted atheism to fill his nation. And he sent in death squads into villages because all of the educated and people who had read had fled to the villages in the jungles of Cambodia. And these death squads were going through and they were killing everybody when they went into these villages. And they went into one village and they began to dig a ditch, and then they lined the whole village up, and one by one, because they were perceived as enemies of Pol Pot, they began to murder and shoot in the head, and they would fall into the ditch. And it kept happening over and over. And finally they get to this woman, and she cries out just before they put the gun to her head, in her own language, these words: "Oh God, God who died by execution, save me." She did not know his name. In Cambodia, they worship hundreds of gods. But somewhere along the line, somehow, it had been passed down to her. She had caught just a little twist of the story, that somewhere out there in the world, there was one God out of all the gods in her mind. There was one God who had died by execution. And when she said, "Oh God who died by execution, save me," suddenly the soldiers stopped. They withdrew the gun, they got in their truck, and they left. And all of the people that were spared looked to that woman who had cried out to the God who died by execution. And they didn't know his name. They didn't know anything about him. They didn't have any Bibles. They didn't know who in the world they were praying to. But from that day forward, that whole village that was left began to change gods. And they all, not knowing who he was, began to pray. And at night when they would pray and when they would burn candles and do their incense, they would pray to the God who died by execution. Watch this. Watch this. 15 or 20 years later, I've got it in a book that I've got, a missionary goes into that village. He preaches one simple message, and he uses a cross to illustrate what he's preaching. He preaches the death of Jesus Christ on the cross, not knowing what had happened in the history of that village. And when he told them about Jesus Christ dying on a cross, the whole village bowed their knees and began to cry, because they had found the name of the God who died by execution. His name is Jesus. And I say to you tonight that what we want out of this conference is more than good services. I want somebody to begin to serve the God who died by execution and pick up your cross. That's why we gave you a cross when you came into this place, because I'm going to give you the opportunity to pick up your cross. And if I could say one thing to you, I would say this: you'll never regret it. You'll never ever be hurt by the cross. It is a sign of his love for you.
Coming here, I've actually gotten to know God. And I mean, I gave my life to him, but just coming here just brought it all back together piece by piece. pastor last night when he was telling us to carry Jesus' cross and stand up and not to be ashamed. It was just like breaking out of a whole new shell and just saying, okay, forget about what people think of you. It doesn't matter. God's the only one that you really need to make happy in your life. In all my life, I've actually been down and out about what people have thought about me. But now it's time to not worry about them and to worry about me and my relationship with God. I never in a million years would have guessed I would have ever seen a lot of people come together and worship God the way they have. We need to come together and unite in one in God. And that's exactly what we're doing here at Forward.
Who are you? What must you do?
I must raise my children.
I must empower the next generation.
I must run my business so that I may help others.
God has a plan and purpose for your life. This brand new 2-CD series by Jentezen Franklin will help you discover your destiny. You can receive I Am, I Must, what you need to know to pursue God's plan for your life for your gift of any amount this month.
And an I must deals with your purpose, with your mission, with your assignment, with what God has put you on this earth for.
Pastor Franklin brings you 2 powerful messages that offer a biblical strategy for anyone who wants God to pour out His favor in exciting and fresh ways.
And if you ever tap into your I must, it'll help you decide where you go and where you don't go and who you hang out with and because your I must will guide your life.
There is amazing power available for your personal life when you discover who you are in God. When you know your I am and your I must, you will live the abundant life God has in store for you.
But if you follow the I must, there's no telling what God will do with your life, and He's got an I must for every one of you.
Your life, your worship, your relationships will take on a whole new dimension and power when you discover your I must. Call now.